As a program manager or a project manager, one of the critical aspects in a project execution is how do you manage risk? If you're able to manage your risk well, then you can manage your project well. So today's video, we are going to discuss two things. One, what is my risk management life cycle? And second, if I need to do a risk management, what is the right way of doing it? I'm going to share an Excel template today. And the same template I have also added on the share path. The link is given in the description section. So you can use that template. That's an absolutely good template covering all the aspects of the risk management. So let's start with two things today. One, what is my risk management life cycle? And second, we'll also discuss the risk management template. So I'm sharing my screen here. So the whole life cycle I have put in three parts. The first part is identifying the risk. Second part is giving a priority, assigning a priority, deriving a mitigation plan or a contingency plan. And third is the status tracking of the risk. So let's start with identifying the risk. So as a project manager or a program manager, this is very critical aspect that how do you identify each and every single risk in a project. So for that, you have to have a good coordination and collaboration with your development team, within the product team, if any third-party vendors are there, if any support group is there, is the operations team is there, DevOps team is there. So you have to have a good coordination with all the teams so that you can identify all the possible risks. And the risk cannot be identified on the day one. The risk will be keep on coming as you execute your project. So it will be a continuous exercise where we keep on identifying your risk, working with those risks, and then either closing those risks or doing different things with that risk. We'll cover in the later part of here. So once your risk are identified, you work with all the stakeholders, you identify the risk. Then next step is identifying the right owner for that risk. This is very important so that you can rightly track your risk. Once risk is identified, owner is identified, then you also assign a probability to it. What is the probability of having that risk or occurring that risk? And then you do a risk impact assessment. Is your risk under cost, reputational, quality, schedule, performance, and what is the exact impact of that risk? So that's the first part of the risk. You identify the risk, you identify the owner, you identify the probability, and then you are into an impact assessment. Now comes my second part, that I have to give a ranking or the priority of the risk, because there could be more than one risk. There could be 5 risks, 10 risks, 20 risks, or even more than that. So you have to give a ranking to them so that in the same order you can actively work on those risks. Now comes the very important part of the risk management is a mitigation plan and the contingency plan. So if you want to reduce the likeliness of the risk, that you want to avoid having that risk, then you figure out a mitigation plan. And if your risk occurs, whatever mitigation you put, if still risk occurs, then how do you reduce the impact of the risk? That is your contingency plan. That how do you continue the project execution even the risk is occurred? That is your contingency plan, so that you can reduce the impact. Now creating these mitigation plan and contingency plan, as a program manager or project manager, this is very important that you are collaborating with all the stakeholders. As I said, there could be different stakeholders: product team, development team, operations team, DevOps team, vendors. So you have to make sure that you working with all, figuring out these details, and then when the risk is logged, you're also discussing these things with the stakeholders. So awareness of the stakeholder is very important step in the risk management. And I've seen many program managers or project managers fail on this step. We track a risk, we log a risk, but then we are not able to give a continuous update or awareness to the stakeholder, and that is where the gap comes in. So once your mitigation contingency plan is identified, then you track the status of the risk. Is my risk mitigated, accepted, closed, open, transfer? There could be different stages of the risk. So you track the status of the risk. And then you decide, what frequency I have to revisit my risk. And then again, go to the same step over here, identify risk owner. Because over the period, when you're working on the contingency plan or the mitigation plan, or things change, your project conditions change, your stakeholders change, market conditions change, your scope change. So it might happen that your risk category change, risk description change, your owner gets changed. So you have to keep continuing working on those risks. And if the owner is changed, probabilities increase or reduce, your impact category change, your ranking is change. So this cycle will be repeated. Your mitigation plan might change. So this cycle gets repeated until the risk is closed. And as I said, if your project is there until the project is closed, you will definitely have few risks in the project which you have to keep continue on those risks. So if you manage your risk well, you manage your project well. This is the core concept of the program management. If you are doing this in a right way, then definitely your project will be successful. Now let's look at the template. If you need to create a template, how it should look like, what are the key things to be translated to template. So whatever we discuss here, same thing will be translated to the template so that we can track it. So let's switch the tracking template. So here we have a risk tracking template, and then the first thing we'll put is a risk ID. This could be your application name underscore risk one, or could be project name underscore risk one, or program name underscore risk one. But this is important that you give a unique name to a risk so that you can uniquely identify it. Then comes your risk description. You have to give a brief description of the risk. Then you have to list down, you have to mention who is the owner of that risk, what is the probability of having that risk. Then you can have impact type. So the impact type will be a drop down. It could be financial, reputational, quality. So I have put a drop down over here. You can append more category here if you want, and then value will be auto populated here. Then you put an impact description. This is a type, this is a description. Then you give a ranking to your risk. Then this is very important part we discussed, the mitigation plan and the contingency plan. And then you track the status of the risk. Again, this is also a drop down, and the values are coming from here. You can add more status if you want to add here. Then this remark is important because as you work on those risks, there might be a few updates, there might be a few dialogues with a different stakeholder. You want to keep details of those things, you can put a remark section. Now you have a logging date when the risk was logged, and then we're also tracking how many days it has been open. So this is today minus your log date. So with this, you can see what is that risk which is pending for so long, and does it need your attention? Or since it has been pending for so long, that means it is not impacting you. Can you close this? Can you transfer this? So many decisions can be taken based on this column number M. So this is really a strong template covering every single aspect of risk management. So you can use it. This is a completely editable template, Excel-based template. This is on the share path. The link is given in the description section. You can download from there, and then you can readily use it. So I hope this video has given you a good insight. How do we do a risk management? What is the complete risk management life cycle? And then what should be the right template for a risk management? Thank you very much for watching this video. I'll see you soon.